fucking freezing in here.
Then he got an idea. An awful idea.
I know just what to do.
So I'm thinking I'm going to take the heat from the header through a fan and pump it into the cab and try to make a cheap heater for this thing, because no one online has one. No one's done it that I can find. I don't have vents in the back. I do have an Inferno heater on the front. This is kind of like an experiment, just trying to see if this will work, because I've not seen anyone make a heater for a General yet. So we're going to try it out. Here's our 4x4x3Y, 4-inch, 4-inch, 3-inch Y. This will be going to the heater. This is going to wrap around your exhaust. And you just take an angle grinder, cut it down through there, and that's what's going to wrap around it. And then to hold it on there, we're going to put stainless steel zip ties on it to hold it to the header. And the exhaust pipe will be going to our heater. So here it is. After I painted it, I just spray bombed it with some 1200 Fahrenheit barbecue paint. Okay, you can see I've got the bed up. This is where that 4x4x3Y is going, and it's going to feed into this dryer duct. This is really thick, heavy duty aluminum, and it's going down through there. It's popping out right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
So the motor's still fine, it's just the housing got hot and distorted a little bit right there. Let's pop this panel off right here, and it's coming in here, and it's got that thick tape on it with a zip tie holding it, and then running into the 2-inch hose with black duct tape and zip ties, and then it's going to be coming. Right now it's coming through here, but eventually we're going to get it coming out vents right here. Alright, so I got the bed up and the pipe on there, and I realized you don't need the little pieces at the front and back. Throw those away. But you want this outlet pipe angled slightly upward. That way, whenever you're washing it and you run through mud puddles and stuff like that, if this right here is pointed down, water is gonna go down into the fan and everything. So make sure this right here is on a slight incline. You can see it is a little bit. And now we're just going to put the stainless steel zip ties on the header. And these right here are cheap. You can get a bunch of them for nothing. So here's the zip ties, and these things are cool. They're 304 stainless. You can see 304. How these things work is there's a little ball in here. And when you put the zip tie in, coming in, this ball gets pushed outward. You can see it's tapered. And back here, there's more room for it to move. The zip tie can slide freely. Whenever the zip tie tries to go back this way, that ball rolls with it, and you can see it's tapered down, and it pinches it, and it can't get pulled out. You can see, maybe, that ball in there. You can see that ball right there. And that little tab prevents it from coming out. So it can work just like a regular zip tie, but you can't reuse it. But these things are cheap enough. If you mess one up, just throw it away. One zip tie wouldn't wrap around it, so I just tied two together. So there we go. Got the zip ties on it. Slightly angled uphill. I got about a 1/2-inch gap on the back there. And on the front. Now, grab your hose, put your hose on, and we'll tape the hose up. Alright, I just put some of our aluminum flashing tape on it to hold it. You can put a stainless steel zip tie if you want to. But with the bed shut, it should look pretty factory. Pretty simple. So here's where I got my switch for the back. Got it in there. This will be my low and high. That's the factory Inferno heater that I've got down there in the floorboard. Actually coolant based. It goes to 2 vents up here and 2 down here, right there. And this secondary heater is going to be off the exhaust, and this wiring harness, it plugs into the back of the switch. Then you'll have a power and a ground. Then you'll have 3 wires. You'll have a ground, a low, and a high for that switch. Just extend them, that way you can run it through the tunnel out to the back where the heater's going. I could put the fan in there being a 4-seater, but I've got my windshield washer. You can see them down there. That's my windshield washer tanks for the windshield. So I've got that room kind of already occupied. If those washer tanks weren't there, I would put the fan routed under the center console here and put the fan in here. So we got heat coming from the header underneath, coming out here, tied into our fan. I cut the ribs off the fan and the mounts to where it'll fit under here. You might be able to, if you put it in here on a 4-seater, or maybe a 2-seater has enough room under here, you might be able to leave the mounts and the fins on it and not have to worry about cutting those off, and feed it in through here and then down in here and do your duct work. My original plan was to have a 2-speed switch. Right, this is for that fan back there. I was wanting to have a high and low to match my Inferno factory, but this fan doesn't flow enough to put a voltage regulator on it to step it down. I've tried. I was going to run our negative and our low and our high wires to it, have a 2-speed fan just like the Inferno fan. It's got a diode in it and a voltage regulator built into the fan. Well, I was going to put all those electronics on this one, but that doesn't really flow enough to have a 2-speed fan on it. And I've tried everything. I bought a 5-volt step down voltage regulator. I bought an adjustable voltage regulator, 3 to 15 volts out, and I've tried every which way, but these things are just too inefficient to make that fan into a 2-speed fan. So save yourself some time, just wire it up to a simple switch. It's not that loud. Just put it on and off, and that's it. So here's the vent I'm going to use back here in the back, and it's the same one as Inferno sends you for the dash, but I'm going to install it vertical, and that way when you're spraying it out you can close this and no water gets in there. Just cut out your holes, then we'll hook up the hose. So we got our hose coming out of the heater, and it splits into the 2 Ys. It's going to be going into these 2 vents. So I got both vents on both sides. You can see down in here, that right there is coming from the heater, from the fan. Goes into our Y, then goes out that side and out this side. And here's the vent I was talking about. You'll be able to shut it. It points downward, so whenever you rinse this thing out, you can shut it. Won't get any water in. And I just sat in here, and my knees actually go past it a little bit, so it actually blows right behind your legs. So I didn't record it, but I got the new fan on there. Same setup back here. Got the stovepipe pulling heat off the header, going into the stovepipe, through the bottom and into the center. So it comes under the seat, into the fan, then it splits into the 2 vents and out through here. So I got it done. There's the header. The stovepipe coming off the header. Engine is cold right now. See, I'll grab a hold of it. I've got a thermometer with 2 probes. The back one's going into the header heat. The front one's going into the Inferno heat. And I'm going to go down the road and see how quick they heat up and what they get to maximum temperature wise. So this isn't going to be a test to see how quick it heats up in here, the front heater versus the back. I'm just going to run it down. I'm going to let it idle a while and see how quick each one heats up. Then I'll drive it down the road and see how hot each one gets. The back heater has got an advantage because it's creating positive pressure inside the cab. So the Inferno heater is just recycling heat in here, but the header heater is pumping air inside, so it's pressurizing the cab, and any kind of air leak you have in here, it's pushing outward against the cold air. So it'll be a little harder for cold air to come in with the header heater running. So, but anyway, I'm gonna crank it, let it run a while, and we'll see the Inferno heater versus the header heater. And I'm going to put the Inferno heater on the front one on low, because the output of that header heater fan is about, feels, just by feeling it with my hand, it feels about the same flow as the Inferno on low. So here's my super scientific way of testing the fan there. You can see some toilet paper. As soon as I bring it down, it blows it out. Alright, that's the back heater. That's the Inferno. Put it on low. I wasn't able to use this low switch. I was going to use a 2-speed switch on the fan in the back, but the voltage regulators I tried were just too inefficient, and it killed the power of the fan. It just barely turned. So the rear fan, the header fan, is just on a simple on and off switch, and I wanted it to match my Inferno heater, so I got the same switch from Inferno, and it's just a single on and off simple switch. So that's the temperature going in the front vent of the Inferno heater, and that's the temperature coming off the header. Cold engine. See how quick it heats up. So hopefully you can hear me. It's been about 8 or 9 minutes, and the temp is not going up any further. It's going from 170 to 175, kind of varying there. So it's not getting any hotter. The Inferno heater's kind of leveled out at 125. It's not really going up any further. The exhaust heater is still going up. I'll give it a couple more minutes sitting here at idle, then I'll take it down the road. So it's been about 10 minutes, and it is really getting warm inside there. But you can see the Inferno kind of leveled off. The exhaust heater still picking up a little bit, and engine's still just chilling 178. I will say I've got the grill blocked because it's winter time, so it's just a zip tied thing to keep the air out. That way it doesn't cool off as bad. As soon as this exhaust heater levels out, I'll take it down the road and see how hot it gets under load. It's been about 10 minutes. So it's been about 13, 14 minutes, and the header fan is dropped off. It was at like 143, now it's back down to 140. So I think it leveled off at 140 degrees just idling. And this fan, let's see here, yeah, it's got a 3-year warranty, which is pretty cool. And I looked up the instructions online, and it says it can take 160 degrees. So if going down the road it gets too hot, I thought I may have to drill a little hole right there. That way it's sucking outside air in. If it gets too hot, may have to drill a little hole, or just see how long this thing lasts. It's pretty cheap, so I may just, if it gets super hot going down the road, I think it's cheap enough. I'm just gonna let it go and see if it burns up, see how long it lasts, and then I'll replace it. If it gets too hot, then I can drill some little air holes. That way it pulls in outside air and mixes with the header air, kind of lowers the temperature a little bit and maybe make the fan last longer. But for right now, just idling 140. So I've been idling about 15 minutes, and temperature got up a little bit further. So the Inferno got a little hotter, but the header heater looks about 10 degrees hotter just idling. So we'll go down the road and see how hot it gets. Oh, check this out. So reverse camera, I put it in reverse. Camera comes on. That's in drive. Reverse. Camera comes on. I have a separate video on how I done that. And I also have that tied to reverse lights. So you can either have it from the ECU reverse lights or manually reverse lights. Let's go down the road and test out what it's like under load. Going down the road, this thing didn't get above 182. This didn't get above 140. I just pulled in. I've went about 5 miles. As soon as I pulled over, I guess the wind is not on the engine anymore. This shot up from 182 to 190. I'm curious if I sit here and let it idle a while, if it starts going down. It was at 191. Okay. So I've went like 5 miles and I just pulled over. I'm just sitting here. I'm gonna let this idle a while and see what happens.